talking about the review of the migration system that has been announced by the Minister of Immigration, Claire O'Neill, last week. So this has been in the cards for a while. I'm just going to be giving you the most important points. There's a 186-page report with proposed changes, so it's a lot to digest. And today we're going to be talking about the most important points for you, who is our follower, who keeps watching our videos, reads our blog posts, follow our breaking news, and the like. So we asked you to send us some questions over the past week since we announced we were going to do this live presentation on the review of the migration system. Some of you sent us some questions, and I'm gonna use those questions today. I've got them here in front of me as we go along. And as per usual, we turn our comments off, otherwise it gets crazy. Many people asking many things. Some people ask things that are not on topic, and we would love to answer everything, all questions you have, but time is not possible. So I'm just letting some more people in, and we're here today again, once more, talking about the recently announced review of the migration system. So you know, if you watch our content out there, you know I love a timeline. I love to put things and connect them to dates so you understand what came when. Because, you know, we're big advocates for factual, simple to understand information coming from registered professionals in the migration industry, which is what we do here at Bravo Migration. So we're all either solicitors or registered migration agents, and we also like to give you easy to understand information, but real information, not rumors or things that make you get even more confused than you probably are. So the current government, we're under a Labour government that came into power in May last year after an election, replacing the previous government, which was a Liberal government. They appointed Minister of Immigration and Home Affairs. Her name is Claire O'Neill. And in September last year, in September 2022, she announced that she was appointing a trio of people to look into the migration system and review it. What does that mean in practice? It means that she's getting some independent people, not connected to any parts of the government, not politicians, more like academics, to look into the system and say, this is working well, this is not working well, and suggest what could be changed for those parts that are not working well. Last week, on the 27th of April, she announced the results of their review and released this report with 168 pages that I mentioned before. There's a lot of discussion there as well about the system as a whole. And again, we're not going to go into that because if you're our follower, if you're our client, you're either thinking about migrating to Australia or you're already here on a temporary visa and you're thinking about getting a permanent visa, or you are a permanent visa or citizen who got their permanent residence or citizenship with us, but you have friends and who are thinking about migrating, or family. So you have an interest on this. So we will talk about what really would affect you directly from that report. But not surprisingly, the release of the report, there was a big press release. The minister was at the National Press Club, which is a media event that happens regularly and where politicians and other important people release information sometimes, and that's what she did. She talked about the report there. And unsurprisingly, she used words such as broken, slow, unfair, too complex, and this was all related to the current immigration system in Australia. And we totally agree that it is broken, that it is absolutely too complex, that is very slow, and some parts of it are unfair because, you know, we're dealing with humans and human lives, and obviously there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. The Department of Immigration is a bureaucratic organization, and you know, there's some in a lot of cases heart and soul are removed from that equation, and it becomes impersonal and in a lot of times unfair. So we agree with that, and we knew it. Nothing new there. We all knew that it was too slow, too complex, and it was completely broken. When something is broken, you need to put it together and fix it. Now, the report also got really dark. I don't know what happened. I hope you're all seeing me still. I'm here. So when something is wrong, as I was saying, you need to fix it. Now, how are they going to fix this is why they're here today. What are they suggesting we do so we can fix this broken system? The suggestions that they have made, some of them make sense to us, but most of it, we don't know if it's going to really fix the broken system. It may improve the system, but is it, number one, is it going to make it faster? Which is a huge concern, not just for you if you are an individual looking at getting a visa and the frustration that it comes with having to wait. And trust me and my team, we are all frustrated when it takes ages as well. But it's simply there's more people applying than there's people in the department working to process those visas. And the department tried to use a completely automated, outsourced IT system to process things, and it didn't work. It was a disaster. So how do we stop it being slow? Is it gonna, get faster? That's my question to this review. Great. Everything you're suggesting seems to make sense, but is it going to make it faster for our clients? That's our main concern with the review. Number two, is it going to make it more fair? If they have realized that the system is unfair, is this review, are those measures that are being suggested here, are they going to make the system fairer? We're still to see, we don't know. And why don't we know? Because the suggestions that have been made, not all of them have been announced by the Department of Home Affairs, the Department of Immigration. They haven't been announced as they will be implemented. They're until now just suggestions, the majority of them. We have 2 confirmed changes, but the rest are suggested changes that we don't know when they will come. We don't know how they will work. And this is something that happens not only in this government, but also the previous government. Changes are announced in haste, in a rush, and then only later they explain and make legislation in terms of how that is going to work. So in a lot of cases when there's changes, migration agents and solicitors like us here at Bravo have to answer questions from clients. How is this going to work? When is it going to happen? And we go, we don't know. There's no information there yet. So it's always an exercise in patience from everyone's side. So a lot of this haven't been, the government hasn't explained when or how they will be implemented. So again, we ask you to bear with us because obviously we're going to be releasing information as it becomes available, and we are going to stick with our mission, which is to provide simple to understand, true, factual, knowledgeable information to you. Now, today, and this is connected to a blog post we published on our website a couple of days ago, we're going to cover the 6 most important announcements in that whole review of 186 pages. And these are the ones we believe are going to affect you if you're applying for a visa or if you have recently applied for a visa. Now, as I said, 2 are confirmed changes. The others are plans, suggestions. So again, bear with us. Now, one of them, and I'm going to start talking about how it is 3 changes in one. The department said that there are too many visa subclasses and the system is too complex. So what they're proposing to do is to reduce the number of visa subclasses, or using more easy to understand language, reduce the number of visa options out there when it comes to skilled visas, and create a 3-stream skilled visa. One of those streams would be for high income earners, so people who are working in their occupation and earning salaries of above a certain amount, which we don't know what the amount will be. Medium income earners that would pretty much stay sort of like in the same system as what we have nowadays with the sponsorship TSS 482 visa. And lower income earners, where we would be looking at more baseline jobs. So people in the aged care industry, childcare industry, those industries where we really struggle in Australia to find skilled workers, but there's not a clear visa pathway. Sometimes there's not even a possible visa pathway. Speaking of aged care workers, we keep getting inquiries from people saying, I saw that aged care is in demand in Australia, so I've arrived and I'm studying an aged care course. And we go, and great, you're studying something very noble and that it is required in any country. But then the client says to us, okay, so what is the permanent visa that I can apply for? And there isn't. There isn't even a sponsorship visa without an agreement that someone can apply as an aged care worker. So this is a welcome change if they create a tier of lower earning jobs that can be sponsored, that can get a visa, such as aged care workers, which would be amazing, which, it's such a noble occupation and so in need here. As well as childcare workers, not managers, but workers. That's still hard to get a visa under that stream. So they're reducing the number of visas. Are they going to put, general skilled migration visas together with sponsored worker visas? We don't know. But they are saying there's going to be 3 streams. Now, we don't think they're going to end with the points tested visas, because another part of this change is that they said they're going to change the points test, and I'm guessing here they may even chop it off, because the review found that the points test doesn't really test anything relevant that we really need to know about people applying to migrate. Getting points for having studied in a regional area is great, but does that mean you're going to be more successful in settling in Australia or finding work in your occupation than someone who has studied in a non-regional area? So this, you have to understand the skilled migration program was implemented in 1996, the year that I arrived in Australia, as I am a migrant, just like you. And a lot of things haven't changed, and this points test is something that comes from those times. The occupation lists is another thing they are going to change. They say the occupation lists don't reflect real occupations anymore, and I totally agree. It's completely out of what the reality in the market is. So yeah, it's welcome change when it comes to points tests and occupation lists. I am an optimist, so I would like to think that the reduction in numbers and types of visas will be good as well, will make things more streamlined, less complex. But a lot of my colleagues in the industry, and someone just commented on a post I made on LinkedIn today, an accredited immigration specialist said every time they reduce the subclasses, they increase complexity. So, and I agree with him. And that's where I come from when I said, yes, changes are welcome, but are the changes going to be effective? So if the review has identified that the whole migration system is broken and too complex, changing this, reducing the number of visas, will make it less complex, or is it going to be more complex because we're going to have less visas to apply for, but with all these different streams and complexities within those visas that may just be, it may stay the same. If you were in Australia, or if you remember, in 2017, the government announced the abolition of the 457 visa and replaced it with the 482 TSS sponsorship visa that we have today. And that was, a whole year of announcements and gradual changes and people being in the dark about a lot of things, including us, because again, they announced the change and it took them a year to, actually implement everything they were suggesting. So in the end, the 457 visa doesn't exist anymore, but the 482 visa is not that different. It's just the same thing with a different name. There's a couple of crucial differences there, but mostly it's the same visa. So we're hoping it's not going to be the case. We're hoping they really think about what they're going to reduce, what subclasses will be incorporated into others, and so on. Now, one of the questions we received today, and I'm going to be linking the questions with what I'm saying, is from someone saying, Rafael, for those who are planning to apply for a skilled visa 189, 190, or 491, so these are general skilled migration visas, that's what we call the points test, until the end of this fiscal year, would it make sense to wait? Absolutely not, is my answer to you. Don't wait, because these changes to types of visas and streams and points tests, we don't know if it's coming before the end of the financial year. We don't know if it's coming in this financial year or even the next. I would say these changes will be slowly implemented over the course of the next year. When they abolished the 457 visa and replaced it with the 482, it took, like I was just saying, it took them a whole year to get things done. So don't wait. Plus, you may think you qualify for hopefully you're applying because we told you qualify, Rafael, and that's your plan. If you qualify for a visa now, you should apply now. Why? Because we don't know if you will qualify when these changes come. So when changes are announced, it's really the opposite. You need to rush. You need to ensure, okay, I know I qualify now. I should be lodging something. Now, if you don't qualify now, then you should be waiting, because it may be that with the changes, you will qualify soon. But if you qualify now, do not wait, because things can get more complex, more expensive, or you may not qualify anymore. And, you should never put risk into your plan. So get in touch with us if you believe you qualify. If we already told you qualify, if you had a consultation with us, get in touch with us and get your plan going. Do not wait. Another change announced, and we're changing tack as well here, was the review found, surprise, surprise, that international students are a massive contribution to the Australian economy, society, culture, and everything else. We've been saying that for decades. I am an example of what an international student can contribute to the country, and this is not a surprise. So there's 30 pages talking about this on the report. What I'm digesting here for you is that the government acknowledges that we should be keeping skilled international students in the country to contribute economically, culturally, and into society. And one of the changes announced is that they're going to make the graduate visa simpler to get and more straightforward. Now, I've seen some questions and I've seen some comments. People are talking about an automatic graduate visa. And that sounds great, and but I know what the minister means. She probably means something easier to get once you complete your studies. Nothing in immigration can be automatic. There's nothing, no visa that can be granted without you making an application for it. So someone had a question here. Let me change and find the question. The government talked about an automatic graduate visa. Does it mean eligible students won't have to apply anymore? And that's where I'm coming from. You will always have to apply for something because the department cannot give you a visa without you requesting it. They don't know if you want that visa. So I don't think there's going to be a way that they can completely remove an application process. Your question, and that's from L. L is also asking, without the need to pay for it or doing an English test, maybe they will reduce the bar, they will lower the bar when it comes to how much English proficiency you need to show. But for free, I don't think it will be for free. But if for sure, it's going to have to be an application. So think about the COVID 408 visa at the moment. It is a free visa, but you still need to apply for it. So there's always going to be an application and criteria. Now, if they're going to make the criteria easier, that's probably what they're going to do. You're also talking about, someone here is talking about skills assessment. So changes regarding skills assessments may not be necessary for those who have studied in Australia. Maybe they may not be necessary, but there's nothing announced in relation to that yet. So what we have now, everyone completing a vet course that has been of a 2-year minimum duration until the 30th of June, they may be able to apply for a graduate visa without a skills assessment because you don't need to nominate an occupation, therefore you don't need to be assessed in that occupation anymore, and that's only up until the 30th of June. And this is if you're applying under the temporary work stream. If you're applying under the post work studies, work rights stream for people who finished a higher education degree, master's, bachelor, or doctorate, you never had to get a skills assessment anyway. So maybe you have a point there. The question is from Nobres Viajantes. Maybe they will scrape off, the skills assessment, but for the graduate visa, but there's nothing confirmed along those lines. Maybe that may be how they make it easier for students to stay here. There was a time, and that's how long I've been working as a migration agent. Before 2010, everyone could get a graduate visa if they completed a 2-year course. So maybe they'll do something like that again. At the moment, it's a trial, and I shouldn't say a trial. It's a temporary concession because of COVID and the need for us to keep as many international students with skills in Australia, but it's set to end on the 30th of June. So hopefully with this review, they found that, yes, it's a great idea to do that, to keep as many students in Australia as possible. Now, the other change that a lot of people are talking about is the change to do with TSMIT. So what is TSMIT? It's the temporary skilled migration income threshold. In other words, the minimum salary that applies to a visa application if that visa application is connected to a job offer. Not all visas require someone to be earning or being offered a minimum salary, and even visas such as the 186 permanent employer nomination visa don't look at this minimum salary, but the 482 TSS sponsorship visa does, and the 494 visa does as well. So they announced that after 10 years without the salary going up, and again, I've been a migration agent for 18, 19 years. Our company Bravo Migration exists since 2008, so we remember when this minimum salary was adjusted every other year, and that was normal. And then in 2013, there was no adjustment, and there hasn't been an adjustment since, which we were waiting for the day when the party was going to be over. So this is one of the changes, one of two changes that have been confirmed, and they have a date attached to them. So on the 1st of July, the minimum salary is going to go up. And at the moment, it's $53,900 a year. It's going to go up to $70,000. So normally we see this minimum package attached to a sponsorship visa application. And someone had a question here. Is it going to make it easier for sponsorship or harder? It depends, Benjamin. It depends. It depends on who your employer is, what occupation you work on. But the point of the government is that if we had kept adjusting the minimum salary regularly over the last 10 years as we used to do, probably the minimum salary would be at 70,000 now anyway. So it is a high salary, especially for regional positions, depending on some occupations, but we haven't seen a lot of sponsorship visa applications from our clients that are so close to the 54,000 and, far from 70. We do have some clients we are concerned about, are the employers going to offer them a pay rise that, thinking about applying for sponsorship. And again, if you are thinking about applying for a sponsorship visa, be it a 482 TSS sponsorship visa or a 494 regional sponsorship visa, you need to apply now. You need to get that salary negotiated with your employer now. So very important. And the other change that was confirmed is the change that we welcomed the most, and probably the only one. By the end of the year, everyone on a sponsorship visa will have a pathway for a permanent visa. So we had a little party because of that. As I said, in 2017, the government abolished the 457 visa and replaced it with the 482 TSS visa. Now, as I said, not much changed in that. And I hope this is not going to be the case again with this review. We're just going to be changing names and things for the sake of changing, just because we had a change in government. But in the end, things are going to stay the same. If they're thinking about changing things, change them, make them better, make the system faster, make the system less complex and fairer. But again, we're going to have to wait. But I digress. The 2017 changed. Remember when I said there was only really two major changes that made a difference? One was that with the 457 visa, recent graduates could be sponsored straight out of graduation. So someone who had the minimum qualification could get sponsored even if they didn't have any work experience. With the 482 visa, everyone has to have the right qualification and at least 2 years of work experience in the same occupation so they can get sponsored. So this is one major change. The other change was that when we had the 457 visa, anyone on a 457 visa sponsored on that visa could apply for a permanent employer visa if they wish to do so and if that employer nominated them to do so, regardless of their occupation. So the occupation list for the 457 visa was exactly the same as the occupation list for the 186, the permanent employer visa. From March 2018, the government changed that and split the occupation list in two and created the medium and long-term skills shortage list and the short-term skills occupation list, and declared that only people who have an occupation in high demand in the medium and long-term list can apply for the 186 permanent employer nomination visa. And that has been the case for almost 5 years, actually more than 5 years. It's May 2023. This government has declared in this review that by the end of the year, every sponsorship visa holder will have a path for permanent residence. Now, please don't go crazy and believe that everything's sorted and you should not worry about any other visa strategy. Talk to a migration agent, get your strategy sorted, and include the possibility that you may be eligible for a permanent employer visa from December in there. But don't count on it until more information has been published in terms of how this is going to work. We can trust that the government already confirmed it's going to be implemented by the end of the year, but there are no more details. So 2 confirmed changes with all this, review, etc. The minimum salary is going up to $70,000 a year on the 1st of July for sponsorship visas, and people on sponsorship visas, regardless of their occupation, will have a pathway for a permanent visa by the end of the year. Now, the TSMIT, the minimum salary, can also affect other visas. As I said, the 494 regional sponsorship visa also has a requirement for the TSMIT. And if you are on a 494 visa or on regional provisional skilled visa 491, when you're applying for the 191 visa, this one of the requirements is that you should be earning the minimum salary income in each one of the 3 years before you apply. So someone has asked here, the TSMIT pre-salgado, the TSMIT of $70,000 a year is also for people who will apply for the 191 visa? Yes. Again, we don't know if changes to the legislation will be written in the criteria for the 191 visa, but that visa looks at the minimum salary. So we need to be prepared. Again, don't freak out yet. Let's see how this will be applied to a 191 visa application. Please also asking, can I count my Australian partner income as my income when applying for the 191 visa? No. The answer is no. You cannot involve an Australian resident or permanent or citizen in this 191 visa application. If your partner was also on a 491 visa, what we can do is what is called partner swapping. If you didn't earn the minimum salary for one or more of those 3 years when you're applying for the 191, but your partner is a secondary applicant, what we can do is swap the primary applicant for the 191, but you can't involve an Australian partner there, unfortunately. Right. I think I covered all the questions we received beforehand. Someone sent us a question about why they haven't been invited for the 191 visa. That question is from Onu0212. So I don't know your name, sorry. I can't comment on this case without knowing more. Now, if you applied for this with the assistance of a migration agent here from Bravo or from another firm, you should be asking that question to them so they can get you some insights on your occupation, how New South Wales works. But if you didn't work with a migration agent, that's the problem. You might have submitted your EOI successfully and there's no mistakes there, but you're alone in the jungle and no one's gonna come to help you. So that's why it's also important to have a migration agent. We have dozens of similar applications to yours that we can give you some statistics on. We can tell you what is normal, what is not normal when it comes to this crazy invitation system, which I'm hoping it's gonna be less complex with the changes. But for now, it is what it is, and we only comment on applications from our clients. Like, we give that, they have access to our expertise because they chose to work with us. If you're not working with any agent, then you probably won't be getting this information from anywhere. I'm also getting a few questions here. Someone's saying, I am 46 years old. Is there any chance for me? Again, it's going to be hard to talk about cases, people's cases in particular. But what I can tell you is that any GSM visas, any points tested visas, so the 189, 190, and the 491, unfortunately, the day the person turns 45, they are not eligible for those visas. So for those visas, there is no chance for you. We actually have a video talking about, is it too late for me? If you are aged over 45, I recommend you watch it, because there's a few exemptions if you're applying for a permanent employer visa, but if you're applying for a points tested visa, no, there's no exceptions. And if you're almost 45 and you're thinking about coming to Australia on a temporary visa and start a whole strategy, you should also watch that video where I'm really talking about how your age impacts your long-term plan. Again, temporary visas don't have, such as student visa or even the sponsorship visa, don't have an age limit. But if you are already over 45, you don't want to come and study or work and never have a pathway to permanent residence. So we're not going to give hope in situations like that. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. Now, there was a time when the maximum age was 50, and then they put it down to 45. Then they may go back to 50, but there's nothing in that sense in the review. Giselle is asking, is there a change in the occupation lists for states? No, Gisele, the state occupation lists are based on how many places that state or territory has been allocated by the federal government for that financial year. So that has nothing to do with the review. If the department decides to completely change the occupation list, I'm imagining it's going to be before the beginning of a new financial year. That's why I'm saying they don't have time to change that now, before the end of this financial year, which is on the 30th of June. So a little bit under 2 months from now. And they can do whatever they want, but it will be a logistics nightmare for them to change the list in the middle of the financial year. And then the states have already been allocated places and have created their own occupation lists. So I'm thinking it's going to be more towards July 2024. But the states, we have the budget announcement next week, and that's mainly when the states start getting places for the next financial year, and that's when they look at lists. So normally the states and territories change their lists just before the new financial year starts. Then I have a question: have they announced when the occupation lists will be reviewed? Same answer. No, there's no idea for that, but I believe we're only going to be seeing changes around June next year. Let's see. Someone saying, on the 482, do you know if the applicant will need a full skills assessment? I mean, on the 457, it was not needed. I'm not sure where you're getting your information from, and your name is Diani, I think. Gianni, the 482 does not require a full skills assessment for everyone. In fact, there's a legal instrument that requires only certain occupations and only certain nationalities from those occupations to obtain a positive skills assessment to get a 482. Now, I'm not sure what your occupation is. Maybe your occupation is one of those, but it is not a requirement across the board. And I keep seeing people believe that's the case, but it's not. And the last question for today, any changes in the 189 visa, and your name is Trilock. Trilock, you may have just joined us. That's exactly how I started this live today, talking about what's in store for the skilled visas in general. They're going to reduce subclasses, they're going to create 3 streams, but we don't know for what visa, if there's going to be a reduction, a change in names, in criteria. Nothing has been announced yet. So yes, thank you so much for watching us. I've been speaking for almost 45 minutes. My voice is starting to go. I can see there's some more questions coming in about specific personal cases. If you are lost, if you were lost before the announcement of the review, or you got lost after, or if you just want to know if you have a chance, please don't send questions on a live to us or to anyone. Don't send comments. I see people commenting, my case is blah, do I qualify? No one can possibly give you accurate professional advice if you qualify or not based on the little bit of information you're providing us. Book an assessment with a registered migration agent. Make sure that you either qualify and then sleep at night knowing you have a pathway, or find out that you don't qualify and then don't go that way and don't waste time and money going that way. So this has been our live transmission here on Instagram to cover the most important measures announced with the review of the migration system last week, and I covered the 2 confirmed ones, and the others have not been confirmed, but there are suggestions so far. Thank you for watching. Read our blog post where I talk more about it, watch our videos, and again, get in touch so we can look at your specific case with time and give you a professional and effective answer. Bye.